64, 84, 92, that is.
There we are. It was 37 the other day, so a drop of 5 degrees and a breeze added on is very nice indeed.
Don't worry, where you're going shortly, it'll be raining.
That is true. That is true. Back home, it'll no doubt chuck it down once we get back to Manchester and look ahead to the new season. But there are the lads going through their paces. Jose Mourinho there on the training field with them as well. Obviously starting off with the usual stretching, and then it'll get more interesting with the ball work and various other bits and pieces. And I'm sure we'll see a little bit of shooting practice at the end against the goalkeepers, which is always when the lads really start to enjoy themselves and we start seeing some real quality.
Well, it's hard work when you do that, and particularly in conditions like this. But at the end of the day, people out there will say, well, they're getting well paid for it. But that's not the point. It's all hard when you're here and heat like this and doing all the things that they've got to do. But they'll enjoy it. I mean, the one thing, even going back to Maddie, the one thing you enjoy, getting yourself fit. You look after yourself, don't you?
Not really.
No,
not like I should.
No, but you do. You look after yourself, and you feel good when you look after yourself.
Yeah, you're right. We try anyway, don't we?
Oh, we try, yeah.
And just as we were heading to a break, by the way, we caught up with the United manager. Stuart Gardner was asking the questions. Here's his interview with Jose Mourinho.
Jose, first of all, I suppose it's not ideal not being able to train where you're going to play tomorrow night. How are you dealing with it all?
It's in the end. Last day, last match. We go home and then we can train in good conditions where the players feel good and safe, and we can bring the intensity and the concentration to higher levels again. So just hopefully today we do nothing, and to wish that no problems tomorrow in the match and everybody goes home without injuries. If we manage to do that, that's fine.
There was some talk about the pitch at the Bird's Nest Stadium. Is that something that you are concerned about and you have to be a little bit careful of because of, like you said, they're not getting any injuries?
Well, we know the conditions, but I think we have to play, and the conditions also for the training session are not the best. But for the training session, we can control the situation by doing very little and by not bringing the players into risky situations. But in a match is more difficult. So again, I hope our players, and why not to say also the City players, I hope everyone goes home without any kind of injury to start the competitive period well.
What are you hoping to see from your players in this game, given these testing conditions?
Emotional balance. I cannot ask for anything by the tactical point of view. I cannot ask anything for a high performance level. I just hope they keep calm. They don't let their motivation goes down with what we had in the last few days, and go home safely. And then we train at home, and then we have 2 friendly matches to play before Leicester in Europe in good conditions. One at home, good atmosphere at Old Trafford. So it's just to finish and go home.
Is there anything more special about this friendly because it is City against United?
I know, but City against United for me is Old Trafford, Etihad, or even Cup final at Wembley. Not a friendly. It was a friendly before we know the conditions. After we know the conditions, is maybe a double friendly. So I just hope the players they keep that balance and no problems.
And in the season itself, are you expecting this to be one of the key battles in the Premier League when eventually it comes round?
2 of the teams that want to fight for big things, but many others. Without any doubt, 6-7 teams will fight for the title, and without any doubt, 20 teams will fight for every point in every match. So the Premier League was special, is becoming even more special, and every opponent is an opponent to respect.
Thanks for speaking to us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
There we are, Jose Mourinho speaking to Stuart Gardner just a few moments ago. These are live pictures now. He's there with the players on the pitch, just starting to get up to speed ahead of this training session, ahead of the Manchester derby, the second game over here in China as part of Tour 2016 presented by Aon, the third game under his reign, if you like, with, of course, games against Wigan and Dortmund so far. City to come, and then Everton, Galatasaray and Leicester City before the big kick-off of the Barclays Premier League against Bournemouth. And, I mean, clearly not ideal preparations, this.
No.
Training in a different place. The weather could be a little bit iffy tonight. He just wants to get home with everyone safe, doesn't he?
Yeah, he wants everybody safe. What he means, not injured. But it's interesting what you said there about the league. He thinks 6 or 7 teams will be competing for it. I'm not so sure that'll be true. I think you're looking at very few teams going to be competing for the championship.
Well, who's in it for you? Who's in the title race for you already?
I think
without
for me
a ball
it's
being
us and United.
Us and United.
Us and United. City United. Us and City and United. I think Liverpool could be in it. I'm not sure if there's going to be a lot more than that there.
So you don't fancy Conte at Chelsea? Or Wenger at Arsenal?
Arsenal's always going to be thereabouts, but you just think that Arsenal don't have that little bit of nastiness about them that could win the league for them. You always think Arsenal's a nice team. They had a couple of big centre-halves that kicked 1 or 2 people, you'd fancy them strongly, but I just think they'll be there. That'll more or less be the top 4. I'm not too sure about Chelsea. A new manager come in, it'll be interesting to see. He's bought a couple of players, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, Tottenham might be in the mix as well. We'll see. It's going to be a fascinating year because we say this every year, really. It's the most interesting title race ever, but it seems to get more and more interesting every year, and nobody would have picked out Leicester City, even though it's ardent Leicester fan, only put a pound on it or so, you know, them winning the title.
Nobody thought for 1 minute.
Every now and again someone surprises you, but it's unlikely that'll happen again.
I would think it unlikely. But it was a shock last year, wasn't it? But in all credit to Leicester, they played really well. I mean, they finished up, they deserved to do it.
Yeah.
They were the better side at the end of the day.
So we are watching the players train, watching them warm up. They have split into 2 groups to go through various exercises, with Gary Walker there leading that group there, with Ashley Young, Marcus Rashford and the like, Michael Carrick, Tim Fosu-Mensah as well. A few who didn't play the other night but are in training and looking to get their way into that team for this Manchester derby. We have around about 1,000 fans here today taking in the action as well, and there they are. Just a few who are inside the Olympic Sports Centre today, and obviously not a full ground here, because until this morning, and many thought this training session would happen over the road at the Bird's Nest Stadium, but also attendance at training sessions restricted by local authorities here as well. So the empty seats aren't to be alarmed about, really, but it's good for these guys to come down and see United up close, and we'll certainly have quite an atmosphere tomorrow night in the Bird's Nest when United take on City.
Well, it's not changing the hotel. We've changed hotels, but it's just the same fanaticism in the hotel, isn't it? It's going to be interesting. This sounds terrible. It's going to be interesting for me. I want to see what sort of crowds here tomorrow night, and will City have any support of note? Because when we're here in China, all we see is red and white. All we see is red and white. And the other team that's important in this part of the world is Liverpool to a great degree.
Yes, and red is a lucky colour in these parts.
Yeah, so, I didn't know that until you told me last night.
Yeah, so Manchester United and Liverpool, as you say, certainly ahead of Chelsea and City and teams like that. And obviously it's because of United's history as well, not just the colour of the shirt.
You're going to educate me here. There's no 4th floor in the hotel. There's 1, 2, 3. The lift goes up 1, 2, 3, then 5. Why no 4?
Well, there we are. There's a bit of trivia.
Do you not know the answer to that?
I don't know. I try to research these games as best I possibly can, but I didn't think I'd need to know why there wasn't a 4th floor in the hotel.
It must be an unlucky number or something. I would like to come in with a few drinks. Where's the 4th floor? You come down the lift all night, couldn't you?
There we are. You literally, as a presenter on this channel with this man next to you, you have no idea what he's going to throw at you, and there we are.
No, but it's a good question.
A curveball to end all curveballs.
You'll certainly find out. We'll take that out and we'll tell people. Why is there no 4th floor?
There we go. People will be screaming at the telly if they've ever been to Beijing, perhaps, but I doubt it very much. There we go. David De Gea speaking to Stuart a few moments ago. These are live pictures of him starting this training session here in Beijing. The rain has just started to fall, which will actually be quite a relief for some of the players out there. Nice cooling rain, and well done to David there, not just for speaking in his second language, but for doing so while he had a group of players all around him taking a mickey out of him as he was speaking to Stuart there, and he managed to keep a straight face and give a sensible interview. So full marks to our number 1 there.
I think that shows great the camaraderie of players if they are taking the mickey out of one another, which we're doing there. We didn't see, or the people at home didn't see it totally, but it was a real mickey taking situation, and it's great because now that he speaks English, he'll know what the English banter is, won't he?
Absolutely.
Has he learned to swear in English yet?
Oh, yes.
Has he?
Well, I can't confirm or deny it. But
you speak Spanish, so you would know.
He's a great lad, and
great goalkeeper.
Great to see him here. There we are. Look, we're doing a Steve McLaren here, Paddy.
No, I'm waiting for Gene Kelly.
It is starting to pour with rain. This was forecast, and actually, it's going to be quite nice to stand out in the rain for a little bit later on, I think, just to cool everybody down a bit. But it is expected tonight that we could have difficult conditions. And that will add to the pitch problem, potentially, won't it?
They've came all this way. They want to play the game. They've came all this way, and what a disappointment it would have been for the fans here if the game is not played. I'm sure they'll play. Unless, I'm saying that, what if there's a river flows down from the sky?
You'll be getting an awful lot of stick on Twitter now, I'm sure, Paddy, for being stuck under an umbrella in the rain.
I know.
But there we are. But the guys out there obviously not worried about that. They're getting on with things. And look at some of the players involved in that shot there. Michael Carrick, we didn't see Michael against Dortmund, but obviously looking forward to seeing him in a Manchester United shirt, new one-year deal. And I know he was particularly proud of winning the FA Cup at the end of last season. I spoke to him on the pitch at Wembley. He was very chuffed as well that Wayne let him lift the trophy with him, captain and vice-captain of the side, doing the honours. I know,
but that's great for camaraderie and the team getting on with each other when you see things like that happen. I think it's great for Wayne to do that. I think it's terrific.
That was the one missing in their collections, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The two of them, and a great
I know,
moment.
I know, but it's come to the situation. I think personally, we're now that selfish. We just want to win the league. It's now the league. You want to be in the Champions League, all that sort of thing, and the Cup's certainly taking second place. Great to win the FA Cup. There's no question about that.
The United fans here tonight, there might not be too many of them, but they're in full voice and enjoying getting up close and personal with their heroes. I'm sure that they'll give them a good ovation as they head off the training pitch later. Might even get a chance to mingle a little bit. But certainly there are, as you say, plenty of people who want to be at the game, want to be at the training session, want to be around the hotel. And we always see this every time we come back to Asia. It's a great place to be and to spend time with the fans
I think it's quite funny when you go to the hotel and they've got that inside the hotel, that, what do they call it? You can't do anything about it.
It's public right of way.
Public right of way. I think that's incredible. Can you imagine going into the middle of the hotel or somewhere in Manchester, a public right of way? You'd be thrown out. It's just quite funny to see that. Especially, obviously it's not the same, I suppose, when United are not here. It's probably totally different.
So the players going through their training session now. It's always interesting to kind of see how performances develop from various players throughout the tour. But you look at somebody like Marcos Rojo, who's had a busy summer with Argentina, Wayne Rooney, who's had a busy summer with England, Sergio Romero, who I spoke to yesterday, away with Argentina as well. So a few of these players a little bit late, perhaps, in their development in terms of pre-season, but they've been kept topped up by their nations through the course of the summer.
What nation? Are you talking about England?
Well, Wayne and Chris Smalling.
Coming from Scotland, it's lovely to have a nice little dig, isn't it?
Well, of course. But how did you do in the Euros, Paddy? I can't remember. As a Welshman, I'll ask you that question.
I never
heard you. But I suppose various people in this squad have been ticking along at the Euros and at the Copa America and competitions. But it's about getting back up to speed with the team and getting back on the same page, isn't it?
That's the big thing. And when you're not all there together, as we say with the players that are missing, when you're not always there together, it can be very difficult in actual fact. But still, it's part of the pleasure of being a footballer, Dave, being out on the pitch and you're training and you kick the ball about and you're with all your pals. You couldn't be in better company and have all your teammates round about you. Fantastic. You ask any old pro about what they miss most about playing football, and it's not the actual games themselves. It's the camaraderie and the mickey you take out of each other in the dressing room. You ask the players today, I bet you that's the most fun they have when they go to training. It's not the training part of it, it's the mickey they take out of each other. Fantastic camaraderie with players.
And one of the pleasures of being on these tours is that we get to hear quite a few of those stories from you, from down through the years.
I still think sometimes you might not believe them, but you're in a situation today, I think, when footballers are put in pedestals more so than they were in my day, and people are in total awe of players today. And players are only ordinary human beings like everybody else. ordinary human beings. I remember coming back from the cup final after Wembley, my two lads and my two grandsons taken down by the club, thank God, and came back with the club. Wayne Rooney came and sat with them, and they couldn't stop talking about it. You're talking about Marcel, one's 50 and the other's not far behind. And they couldn't stop talking about Wayne Rooney came and sat beside him. It's fantastic, Dad. But that's the all people have of footballers. But footballers just are ordinary people. You find that hard to believe, do you? Because you're looking at me as if you don't believe me.
No, I believe you. It's just nice to hear stories like that, isn't it?
No, because out there in the big wide world, you get people, players get abused for this and abused for that. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. You couldn't meet nicer people. And the things they do for charity that's unseen, all the things they do, never gets any publicity.
Well, on that page, our captain, Wayne Rooney, has a special night coming up.
Yeah.
In a week or so's time, or less than a week's time, at Old Trafford. Testimonial for Wayne Rooney against Everton. Incredible to think that it's 12 years since he signed for Manchester United. Obviously, he's achieved a lot. He's scored an incredible number of goals, and we'll celebrate all that at Old Trafford on that special night. But it's funny how time flies, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah. You're getting old, you know.
I'm certainly getting old, and it looks like I'm getting old.
No, it doesn't count with me. The years don't count any. I don't count them anymore. No, it's great for that. And he's donating all the money to charity, which is fantastic.
Yes,
yeah, great.
Some very good causes will benefit from all the money raised on the night at Old Trafford.
But they don't get credit for that, players. You know, it's not so much football fans. Football fans appreciate players, but the media, to a certain degree, have a go at people over stupidity.
How do you sum up a career like that? I mean, obviously
fantastic.
He's got various records.
I don't forget he was playing for Everton when he was 16. You know, to play that long period of time in professional football, and when you look at football, it's such a competitive game as well. He's been very fortunate to a great degree with injuries. He's never really had a bad injury. Sometimes you can be a great player, get a bad injury, and you never play a game.
All his injury problems have come before major tournaments with England last year, haven't they? World Cups, European Championships.
Yeah.
He's not had too many problems with injury where Manchester United is concerned.
No, it's always disappointing for a player when you miss competitions like that. But at the end of the day, if you ask the majority of 99.9% of the fans, it's all about their club. That's where they want to be, where they want to be successful. They want their club to be successful. And Manchester United, unfortunately, are a club that the fans demand success. It's not, could we win the cup? Could we win the league? You better win the league. You better win the cup. You know, it's that sort of difference amongst certain fans. I'm not saying we get spoiled to a great degree, but the expectancy is so high at Old Trafford from the fans, and quite rightly so. Quite rightly so.
We can see the United players being told what to do by the new boss, Jose Mourinho. Certainly many of them very, very happy with the way that the training sessions have gone so far. You can see that in the way that they've acted and the way they've smiled a lot through these training sessions, and he certainly had a very positive influence on the group.
Oh, without question. Without question. You had that from the off. I think the lads out there will be delighted it's raining. That'll be a relief for them. It'll take that bit of that heat away. But you have, when you look at the players, so different, isn't it? You know, it's no harm to past managers, but the whole atmosphere's changed, hasn't it?
And it's funny for some, I suppose, certainly the players that Jose's already brought in.
Yeah. They'll
obviously be looking forward to the season knowing, well, you've just spent 20, 30 million on me or whatever it is. I'm obviously in your plans. Whereas some of the other ones don't quite know what the future holds today. And what's that like when you're in a team when there's a bit of uncertainty? I tell you what, like it is. When you're out training, you impress. You try to impress when you're out training. And if you do play in a game, you try to impress in the game. It makes you impress all the more. Because you look at Bailly, you think, well, he's going to play, isn't he? He's not going to be sitting on the sideline the first game of the season. If you'd think so, wouldn't be sitting on the sideline. I mean, I think the manager spoke a bit earlier on when he was talking about the one thing you don't want to get is injuries. I mean, you've got a situation, if the game does go on tomorrow night, the pitch itself could create injuries without anybody having to touch a player. So yeah, we just saw Phil Jones there. I mean, Phil, just 7 starts last season, only 6 of them in the Premier League, and clearly a very talented player. He's just been unfortunate, hasn't he? Question that, he's a great player, and never. People have been so disappointed, particularly about the injury situation with him. Hopefully that has changed for him, because he's a terrific defender. There's no question about that. And he's a player you're thinking, well, he could be in the England team. He should have been in the England team, but injuries have
lost them that chance.
Yeah, there's a few in this United squad who could have been on the plane to France with the England Euro squad. I mean, I know you don't want to talk too much about England being a proud Scot, but it's
not that.
You think about Phil, you think about Michael Carrick, you think about Ashley Young, players who have been in the England fold and just weren't quite in the manager's thoughts, Dave, for the summer.
England doing well is good for the country in general. It's good for the whole of Britain in actual fact. Teams from that part of the world doing well, like Northern Ireland done exceptionally well with limited resources. The Republic did well as well with limited resources. You just want them all to do well. It's good for us people that live in that part of the world.
And funny as well that you look at a few of the other players out there who perhaps didn't quite make the cut for their countries this summer with the Euros. I'm thinking Adnan Januzaj, who went to Dortmund, of course, we played the other night. Didn't actually start the Bundesliga game for Dortmund in the end, played largely in the Europa League and substitute appearances in the league, and clearly has come back and wants to make Jose Mourinho sit up and take notice.
Was a player that disappointed me. I honestly thought that kid's got everything going for him. Everything going for him. And you just wonder, would the change of manager make a change in him? Hopefully it will. I think maybe he was restricted a bit over the last manager with his attacking abilities, because there's no one better than me, or no one more than the Man United fans that love to see people in wide positions taking full-backs on and getting down the line and getting the ball into the box. He's exceptionally good at that. He's the confidence he's got for taking players on. It never happened for him. But then sometimes if the manager's not got confidence in you, you don't have confidence in yourself. So I think maybe this season could be a big season for him.
Funny feeling, I suppose, when you're a player who's obviously got talent and then you see a player signed in a similar position to you. I'm thinking perhaps a little bit about Adnan and someone like Henrik Mkhitaryan, who's come in, and it looks like if both of those players played in the team, they'd be on one of the wide positions. Maybe Mkhitaryan could play in the number 10 role, so could Adnan, to be fair.
I don't think Mkhitaryan's going to be a wide player. I think he's going to be the middle of the park player, but Januzaj, he can play in the middle of the park, but got great talent as a winger. And as I said, you asked me, 99% of the Man United fans love to see wingers flying down the line and getting the ball into the box. I love that. I love to see people taking people on. Hopefully that could change next season for Manchester United. I think it will, and I think we'll see more of that. Because that's the one thing that's been lacking, as I said earlier, for the last couple of years. People taking people on. There's not a better sight in football than you've got somebody running at a player and taking them on.
We can see the United players being told what to do by the new boss, Jose Mourinho. Certainly many of them very, very happy with the way that the training sessions have gone so far. You can see that in the way that they've acted and the way they've smiled a lot through these training sessions, and he certainly had a very positive influence on the group.
Oh, without question. Without question. You had that from the off. I think the lads out there will be delighted it's raining. That'll be a relief for them. It'll take that bit of that heat away. But you have, when you look at the players, it's so different, isn't it? You know, it's no harm to past managers, but the whole atmosphere's changed, hasn't it?
And it's funny for some, I suppose, certainly the players that Jose's already brought in.
Yeah.
They'll obviously be looking forward to the season knowing, well, you've just spent 20, 30 million on me or whatever it is. I'm obviously in your plans. Whereas some of the other ones don't quite know what the future holds today. And what's that like when you're in a team when there's a bit of uncertainty? I tell you what like it is. When you're out training, you impress. You try to impress when you're out training. And if you do play in a game, you try to impress in the game. It makes you impress all the more, because you look at Bailly, you think, well, he's going to play, isn't he? He's not going to be sitting on the sideline the first game of the season. You'd think so, wouldn't be sitting on the sideline. I mean, I think the manager spoke a bit earlier on when he was talking about the one thing you don't want to get is injuries. I mean, you've got a situation, if the game does go on tomorrow night, the pitch itself could create injuries without anybody having to touch a player. So yeah, we just saw Phil Jones there. I mean, Phil, just 7 starts last season, only 6 of them in the Premier League, and clearly a very talented player. He's just been unfortunate, hasn't he?
Question that, he's a great player, and never. People have been so disappointed, particularly about the injury situation with him. Hopefully that has changed for him, because he's a terrific defender. There's no question about that. And he's a player you're thinking, well, he could be in the England team. He should have been in the England team, but injuries have lost him that chance.
Yeah, there's a few in this United squad who could have been on the plane to France with the England Euro squad. I mean, I know you don't want to talk too much about England being a proud Scot, but it's
not that.
You think about Phil, you think about Michael Carrick, you think about Ashley Young, players who have been in the England fold and just weren't quite in the manager's thoughts for the summer.
England doing well is good for the country in general. It's good for the whole of Britain, in actual fact. Teams from that part of the world doing well. Like Northern Ireland done exceptionally well with limited resources. The Republic did well as well with limited resources. You just want them all to do well. It's good for us people that live in that part of the world.
And funny as well that you look at a few of the other players out there who perhaps didn't quite make the cut for their countries this summer with the Euros. I'm thinking Adnan Januzaj, who went to Dortmund, of course, we played the other night. Didn't actually start the Bundesliga game for Dortmund in the end, played largely in the Europa League and substitute appearances in the league, and clearly has come back and wants to make Jose Mourinho sit up and take notice.
Was a player that disappointed me. I honestly thought that kid's got everything going for him. And you just wonder, would the change of manager make a change in him? Hopefully it will. I think maybe he was restricted a bit over the last manager with his attacking abilities, because there's no one better than me, or no one more than the Man United fans that love to see people in wide positions taking full-backs on and getting down the line and getting the ball into the box. He's exceptionally good at that. He's the confidence he's got for taking players on. It never happened for him. But then sometimes if the manager's not got confidence in you, you don't have confidence in yourself. So I think maybe this season could be a big season for him.
Funny feeling, I suppose, when you're a player who's obviously got talent and then you see a player signed in a similar position to you. I'm thinking perhaps a little bit about Adnan and someone like Henrik Mkhitaryan, who's come in, and it looks like if both of those players played in the team, they'd be on one of the wide positions. Maybe Mkhitaryan could play in the number 10 role, so could Adnan, to be fair.
I don't think Mkhitaryan's going to be a wide player. I think he's going to be the middle of the park player. But Januzaj, he can play in the middle of the park, but got great talent as a winger. And as I said, you asked me, 99% of the Man United fans love to see wingers flying down the line and getting the ball into the box. I love that. I love to see people taking people on. Hopefully that could change next season for Manchester United. I think it will, and I think we'll see more of that. Because that's the one thing that's been lacking, as I said earlier, for the last couple of years. People taking people on. There's not a better sight in football than you've got somebody running at a player and taking them on.
Absolutely right. Fingers crossed we see plenty of that in the coming season. Let's get some reaction. You're watching live pics here on MUTV of the United players training in the rain of Beijing. Let's get some reaction to the Jose Mourinho pitch-side press conference that we saw live here just a little while ago here on MUTV. Stuart Gardner is getting some reaction from the media.
Yeah, I'm with James Ducker of the Telegraph and David McDonald from the Mirror. Boys, have you ever had a press conference quite as chaotic as that?
No, I think it's in keeping, Stuart, with the whole shambles really of this tournament so far. I actually feel quite sorry for Mourinho and Guardiola. They're really not the sort of circumstances that they'd want to prepare for the new season in. But I mean, whoever thought not to put some air conditioning in a room when the humidity here is just unbearable, and it's about 40 degrees, is beyond me. So we had the strange situation of a press conference outside, which I don't think anyone could hear any questions because of the screaming fans. So yeah, it's been a bit of a calamity so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, as James said, it was just unbearable there. I mean, Pep Guardiola did his press conference there earlier. The temperature was a lot cooler in there this morning, and there weren't as many people. They all packed in there for Jose, and it was nudging 40 degrees, I think, the temperature in that room. And so it was unsuitable, the conditions. And of course, then we had the farce of Jose coming out to address the world's media outside here by the side of the pitch, and he looked less than impressed. And you can't blame him, really. As James said, it was just ridiculous, the whole situation with no air conditioning, and really the humidity made it impossible to do it in that room.
What do you guys understand the situation to be at the Bird's Nest? Because it's raining now, it could be raining later on. There is some concern about the state of the pitch. Should we be worried about that tomorrow night?
Well, I think so, particularly as it's now raining. There's rain forecast tonight, overnight and tomorrow before the game. That's not going to help the pitch at all. We're told that it's in a terrible condition. They've got groundsmen working around the clock to try and sort it. There's obviously understandable concerns from both managers about the safety of the surface, and their main concern is getting their players through that game without getting injured. And this is meant to be a showpiece event, showpiece game for the Premier League, for both Manchester clubs. And you get the feeling that there might be a bit of a damp squib if players are concerned about getting injured themselves. The managers are concerned about that. So the surface could play a big part tomorrow. That's if the game goes ahead, because there are concerns that it may not go ahead if it continues to rain.
In many ways, is it a case of let's get this done, let's not get anyone injured, and off we go, back to home?
Absolutely. Jose said that himself, didn't he? I think he said it's going to be a double friendly. So I mean, there's great hope of Mourinho v Guardiola. It might end up being a very, very sort of limp affair, really. Guardiola said it himself, Mourinho said it. Their biggest concern is to emerge unscathed make sure that everyone goes home sort of safe and not injured ahead of the new season, and that would be disastrous. I mean, obviously the move training to the Olympic Sports Centre here because the pitch isn't playable. Thunderstorms are forecast overnight again. I don't see, having a look at that pitch, how if it rains overnight again it's going to be playable. I think they've had dozens of people, haven't they, up for the past 10 days working on it. So.
And just finally, boys, looking ahead to this fixture in the Premier League, you're based in the Northwest. Is Manchester, going to be the place to be? Because eventually, when the season starts, this is going to be huge, isn't it?
It's going to be massive. I mean, you've got arguably the two biggest coaches in world football in the same city. They went head to head when they're both in charge of Real Madrid and Barcelona. Of course, they're some distance apart, big rivals in Spain, but here you've got them both in the same city, so I think that will intensify the rivalry between the two of them. Both have been quite, careful to play it down. It's about the 11 players. It's about, not about, Pep v Jose, but everyone. That's the kind of draw that everyone wants to see. The rivalry between the two, and of course, that Manchester derby comes pretty close to the start of the season. I think September the 10th. So it's going to be interesting to see what players are fit and the respective starts both teams make. But I think that's the date that's ringed in the diary for all fans in Manchester, definitely.
Thanks for standing out in the rain for us. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Yes, Stuart making sure that some of the journalists here
get a
good soaking.
What did you say I was going to say?
Well, I said straight away off the back of that, you'll say it's not Jose, it's Jose.
It's not Jose's name, I suppose he's Portuguese.
No, it's the other way.
Jose's Spanish, Jose's Portuguese.
But there we are. Thanks to David McDonnell and to James Ducker and to Stuart, who will join us shortly here, pitch side, or should I say track side, because we're at the Olympic Sports Centre in Beijing, the athletics track between us and the pitch here, which is where United are training live here on MUTV ahead of the City game tomorrow night, which we're bringing you live as well, which is something to certainly look forward to see where these two sides are compared to each other fitness-wise before the start of the campaign, with, of course, both sides with plenty more games to come in the foreseeable. And I mean, talk before the game in some ways has been dominated by the managers, but also now it's bound to be dominated by the pitch and the conditions here. The rain is falling. It's not too heavy at this stage, Pat. I know you were watching looking at the footage
I'm watching
earlier of the pitch and weren't quite sure what to make of it.
If I was on that pitch, I'd be delighted with that little bit of rain. You don't hope it turns into a downpour, but you'd be delighted with that. But the heat that cools you down a little bit, makes it a bit easier. And
Jose was saying the other day about the fact that in this humidity, sometimes you can water the pitch as much as you like, but the water just disappears and you don't actually get a zippy surface.
That's true.
United really want.
That's true, especially when you're talking about, well, tomorrow's going to be wet, isn't it? Or so they say it's going to be wet. So we hope that the game goes. I mean, people won't want to travel all the way here. I'm talking about players in particular, and not play. They'll want to play.
Yeah, rain forecast for tonight. And joining us is our laminated commentator, Stuart Garner. He's wearing his raincoat. He's got an umbrella as well. It's good to keep out of the rain at the moment. And well, it's a strange build-up to a Manchester derby in a slightly different place to where we normally see them.
This is what I wanted to do when I got into sports journalism, Pat. And Dave, that's sitting on an athletics track underneath an umbrella in the pouring rain and the humidity, watching players in the distance kick a ball around. This is what I always wanted to do. Now that's what we're doing tonight, and I think United are trying to make the best of a difficult situation. A, because they're not training on the pitch where they're going to play tomorrow, and you heard from Jose Mourinho both in the press conference and his interview that the main thing for him is not getting any injuries in tomorrow's game. We're playing City, we want to win it, of course, but it's so crucial 3 weeks or so before the start of the Premier League season that nobody comes back on that plane tomorrow night with a silly injury that you could get from a difficult pitch and difficult conditions. So I think United and City well aware that priority number one tomorrow is let's not get any injuries.
That's true. But at the end of the day as well, Stuart, it's a local derby and you still want to win it just to win over each other, don't you?
Yeah.
Stuart's laughing because he can see himself on the screen. Paddy's only just realised. There you are.
This is the glamour. The glamour of touring.
I'm Gene Kelly. Who are you?
Yeah, we are singing in the rain. That's our situation. Hopefully none of this equipment's going to go up in smoke, by the way, though. I'm glad you're sitting close to it, Paddy. Glad you're sitting close.
Thank you very much.
Glad you're sitting the closest to it.
I'm quite enjoying the rain, to be honest with you. It's the coolest we've been in a long time here. But I suppose we've talked a little bit, Paddy and I, Stu, about the team spirit in the camp. Spoke to Sergio Romero yesterday, and he was sort of saying that that's so important at this stage to grab the new players, make them part of things here at Manchester United, but also to kind of G each other on in this pre-season situation, because the coaches can only do so much to get so much out of you as players. You have to kind of draw the best out of each other as well, don't you?
Well, I think we saw the sort of team spirit just a little bit earlier on out here when we interviewed David De Gea, when as soon as we interviewed David De Gea, he was surrounded by his teammates, the usual suspects in terms of, you know, Juan Mata having a great laugh with his great mate De Gea, as the crowd get very, very excited as some of the players move towards them. That showed that we have got terrific team spirit here. And I think on these tours, Pat, I know you did some post-season tours, but on these tours, is that where you foster team spirit when you're living together?
Without question. And I think the manager's done the right thing as well, because he's took the likes of Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney obviously doesn't know some of the players that were signed, does he? So you'll get to know them in trips like this. I think it's a good idea in actual fact. And the team spirit's been smashing. The crowd, they're obviously finishing short. That's why the crowd are going a little bit noisy.
Yeah, just walking just to our right now. As you probably saw there on MUTV, it hasn't been, I suppose, the most strenuous session. And when I did speak to Jose Mourinho, he did say, well, we're not really going to do anything because, you know, there's a game tomorrow. We've done a lot of training in the last few days in the heat of Shanghai. So it was almost a warm down, that, wasn't it, Dave? It wasn't a big session, and the players are going in now.
Just keeps the rustiness out of the legs, doesn't it? Keeps things ticking over, and obviously, I suppose tomorrow, Pat, Jose will have his starting 11 in mind now. He'll have the substitutes he wants to use in mind, and therefore the session's sort of tailored to keeping everyone fresh, but giving them the workout tomorrow.
Well, sometimes you have situations where training sessions like this the night before the game, the manager gets the 11 players that are playing and they do a few things together, but well, you're in a situation now in games like this where you're going to play maybe 22 players or 18, 19. So it'll be interesting tomorrow.
But it will be interesting as well because City have probably got a very similar level of fitness to United. They've also played just one friendly. They came back to training when United did. So it was obviously clear to everybody that Borussia Dortmund had the edge on fitness. But I think it'll be pretty similar when we see the game tomorrow, which might be more of an equal contest.